Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for another episode, or bonus episode, of Let's Play 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. In the last episode, where there was a lot of cutting because we went through a room we've already been through with new cutscenes, in this episode we're going to continue to just before our next choice. 7 smiled. The key? That doesn't look like a smile, but I guess we're going to roll with it. Ain't that what I just said? I'm talking about the Jupiter key. We found it in the operating room. Here. 7 tossed something small and metallic towards Junpei. He caught it and found that the object was a key. On it, someone had engraved a symbol very similar to a 4. He looked over at June, who nodded back. It had to be the Jupiter key. A symbol, rather. I'm gonna let you hold on to that, alright? Yeah, I got it. Got it. Well, I've got something for you, too, then. Here. It's the Saturn keycard we found in the kitchen. I might lose it. It's probably better if you hold on to it. That way it won't be my fault if it gets lost. Gee, thanks. And with that, she pressed it into Junpei's hand. He felt slightly less than honored. As a group, they now had 3 keys that had not been used. The Earth key, which had been found in the laboratory. The Jupiter key, which 7 had just handed to Junpei. The Saturn key, which Lotus had just handed to Junpei. Junpei tucked the new keys into his pocket. June spoke up. The Jupiter key is supposed to be for the door at the end of that long, straight hallway, right? We're in speed-up territory, which means I can finally exit this and, well, cut this. And I will meet you when it's time to make our door choice. Be right back. Okay, and we're back so I can just show the other options since last time I was wrong. Of course. Of course he was. That was obvious. Zero was somewhere on the ship, but Junpei had no idea where. Junpei mumbled to himself, lost in thought. Where could Zero be hiding? Suddenly, everyone went very quiet. The silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting moaning noise. And moments later, a person who looked more ghost than human appeared. It was Clover. She looked at the floor as she spoke, and her voice was in cold monotone. I think Zero is one of us. Question mark, exclamation point! And now we're back, said, let's see what this one says now. That's crazy! Isn't this ship going to sink in a few hours? If Zero was here with us, he'd be putting himself in danger. Why the hell would he do something like that? There's no motive! Clover looked at Junpei, and her face fell. You don't believe me? Her eyes were so pitiful. The moment Junpei met them, he felt his heart tighten. He didn't think what he said was wrong, but perhaps the way he'd said it had been. He'd been too insensitive. Clover had just lost her brother. His death would have been bad enough, but she also seen the blasted wreck of his body. Junpei barely knew him, and the sight had been enough to make him sick. What Clover had felt, he couldn't begin to imagine. In the mental state she must have been in, it was understandable that she would look at those around her with suspicion. She felt everyone was against her. The least Junpei could have done was try to understand what she was feeling. He felt ashamed of what he'd said. Perhaps he thought, I should apologize, but before that apology could begin... Clover, I understand what you're feeling. You don't feel that you can trust any of us. Ace had beaten Junpei to the punch. As he spoke to Clover, his face was calm and friendly. But you have to understand, the more we distrust one another, the further we fall into our true foe's trap. Zero was the one who did those horrible things to your brother. Do you want to let yourself be manipulated by someone who would do such a horrible thing? Clover didn't answer. She didn't even look at Ace. The whole time her eyes were on Junpei. He could feel Clover's eyes boring into him. They were the color of a deep winter lake. Junpei saw no suspicious in them, only sadness. Then, in that horrible silence, they heard a bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase. 3 a.m. That means we have 3 hours left. Then we need to move, now. 7, Clover. I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it is important that we trust one another, don't you? 7 and Clover remained silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away. We must go! We have very little time left! Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where they were going. Their next destination was Mercury. They sat, bolted to the wall, near the stairs that led to the casino and the kitchen, between the 2 elevators. The Mercury card reader. Junpei stood in front of it with the Mercury keycard. I'm going to cut this, because I believe we've seen all of this, if I can speed past it. Can I? Yes, I can. Alright then, I will see you in a bit. Okay, and I'm back. We're at our choice. And the room I want to go in now is number 6. I know it's one we've already been to, but this is necessary for the ending I'm trying to get. I want to go through door 6. Okay, and I can speed through this, so I will be right back. This apparently seems to be new. It says, like, it's not letting me fast forward past this, so this has to be new. Or it's just something it really wants to emphasize. But it does seem like a possibility, you know? With that, he turned and walked away from the winch. Junpei and Ace followed him. You know, speaking of experiments, Santa suddenly stopped. There was this experiment some scientists did with rats. First, they took a squarish C-shaped tank and filled it with enough water that the rats could drown. The tank had 2 exits, A and B. Exit A is pitch black, so dark even a rat can't see anything. B, however, is electrified, which means the rats can't leave through it. So what would a rat do if it was put in this situation? Which exit would the rat choose? There was a moment of silence after Santa posed the question, then Ace responded. B, of course. The rat has no way of knowing what exit B is electrified. Exactly. The rat goes to exit B. Of course, like I said, it's electrified, which means the rat can't get out that way. So after a lot of trial and error, the rat finally finds exit A. Can't say that's very interesting or relevant. It's simply the story of a laboratory experiment. You're right, that isn't very interesting. Yet. Question mark? These scientists repeated the experiment over and over, using hundreds of different rats over several generations. This produced some surprising results. With each generation of rats, they took less time to find the correct exit. Eventually, a rat was put in the tank who instantly chose exit A without even attempting to go to exit B. But even that wasn't the most impressive thing. The same experiment was conducted in another laboratory, far from the original one, with the same results. No. On second thought, the results weren't really the same. The rats in the second experiment began the trial with significantly faster times than the first rats in the initial experiment. These rats were not related to the rats used in the first experiment and had never even come in contact with them, and yet They all easily found their way to exit A as though they had already knew. What did it mean? Are you suggesting something like telepathy? They were passing information on to one another through some undetectable medium. This game really likes to toy around with telepathy, doesn't this? This is the second time we're thinking about telepathy, except instead of it being a painting that people are identifying, now it's rats. Rat telepathy. Ace looked skeptical. Santa snorted at him. How the hell would I know? I'm not any kind of scientist. I don't know what made him do that. But I do know that the story's true. And if you've got another explanation, I'd sure love to hear it. Come on, let's get going. There's still a lot here we haven't checked out. And we still gotta get the hell out of here before June passes out. Without waiting for a response, he turned around and started walking. Junpei, however, wasn't quite ready to leave the topic alone. Hey, wait! There's something I want to ask you. Santa stopped and turned around. Why did they use that tank for the experiment? Huh? Well, I mean, it seems like you could conduct the same experiment without water. They could have just used a dry box, you know? If they needed to motivate the rats to escape, they could have, I don't know, put some bait by exit B or something. I mean, do they really have to make it so the rats can drown? Santa gave a grim bark of a laugh.
Ha!
You know, the word emergency comes from the same root as the word emerge. Ever think about that? Well, an emergency is something urgent, often something dangerous. And to emerge means to sort of come out or appear or rise out of something else. I probably should have done the barking laugh. I could do that in post. So what's going to emerge in an emergency? Inspiration. Inspiration? Yeah. Think about it. When the chips are down, either you crack or your mind focuses and pulls up what you need. So in an emergency, your real potential emerges? Is that what you're saying? Well, maybe that's why Zero's doing this mess. Yeah. That's why the rats had to drown. They had to be in danger. Yeah, this is really similar to our situation. There had to be an emergency for inspiration to emerge. Junpei suddenly felt cold. The back of his head was aching, and his stomach felt strange. Okay, gonna cut this here, and I'll meet you back when there's something new happening. Or we get out of this room, because that's probably when the change is gonna be the most drastic. Okay, here's something new. This is when Santa's explaining about his sister. This sudden revelation took Junpei by surprise. He had no idea what Santa meant. He glanced at June, who shook her head. She didn't know either. Yeah, and it's not letting me skip, so here we go. We didn't have parents. They bought it in an accident when we were still kids. So I had to be like her dad. And that meant I brought her Christmas presents every year. On Christmas Eve, I'd leave the presents next to her pillow. And the next morning, she'd come running into my room with this big smile. Look! Santa left me a present! Santa got me a doll I really wanted! I'm so glad that he got the letter I wrote! I was the one who told her to write those letters. I'd say, write down something you want and mail it to Santa. The address I gave her was somewhere in Northern Europe that doesn't exist. Anyway, she'd write the letter and stamp it and send it out. And then a few days later, it'd show up back in her own mailbox marked, addressed unknown. I'd open the letter before she figured out they'd sent it back. Once I had the letter, I'd go around to a couple of stores with some money I'd saved up over the year. Sorry. Don't know where that voice crack came from. And bought her the stuff she'd asked for. It took a lot of saving, but I managed to buy her presents every year. Junpei was silent. He could think of nothing to say. June looked down, uncomfortable. The wall next to him suddenly groaned. Either he hadn't heard the sound or didn't care. Santa kept talking. But 1 year, her letter was different. She didn't write a list of toys she wanted or anything like that. Instead, it said, I don't want any presents this year. Instead, I want you to make my wish come true. My wish is that we'll be happy like this for a really, really long time. But I couldn't make that wish come true. Some Santa I am. Santa looked sad. Junpei had never seen him look sad before. He wasn't sure he liked it. Junpei decided it was probably best not to ask Santa any more questions. Oh my god, that's so sad. But what happened? June glanced up at Santa quickly as she spoke. He answered, but only with an effort. She died. She was killed 9 years ago. There was nothing Junpei could say. His heart felt like a great lump of lead. June bit her lip and looked away. Her face was pale. Alright, let's go. Santa stood up suddenly, his downcast demeanor gone. He shoved the picture back in his pocket and headed back up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Oh my god, that's so sad! That actually brought me to tears. Not even joking. Anyway, let's try to get back to the game. We're gonna be doing a cut soon, I'm sure, because we have to do another puzzle. Damn it, phone! Why would you give me a notification now? I really should have put that on silence. Junpei and June looked at one another. There was nothing they could think of to say. Hey, what are you two doing? Let's get moving, come on! Santa's voice echoed across the room from above them. They nodded and followed him quickly up the stairs. Ace was waiting for them at the top. He was leaning against the handrail. He looked very tired. The door had shut, but it wasn't cause for concern. Junpei quickly solved the disc puzzle a second time, and the door opened once again. In single... Damn it. Sorry about that. Still having difficulty with allergies and random coughs and other ailments. In single file, they walked through. After walking for nearly 15 feet, they found themselves in front of a metal door. It opened easily enough, and they passed through it as well. A new room stretched out before them. And this is where we cut. I'll be right back after this one. Oh, another new thing I can't skip. Just then, Junpei heard a noise. He spun around just in time to see June collapse in front of the fence. June, are you okay? She did not respond. Junpei spun back around to face Ace. I'm sorry, I gotta check on her. You do the box thing, alright? Just put the cards in the boxes. I'm counting on you. He shoved the cards into Ace's hands and ran off toward June. Are you alright? What happened? Can't stop the voice cracks. June called out to her and as he ran. As he arrived, June was climbing to her feet with Santa's help. I'm sorry. I'm fine. I just tripped. Don't give me that! Now's not the time! But it's true! I tripped over a box! Junpei put his palm on her forehead. Her temperature was much the same as it had been the last time he checked. She wasn't hot, like she'd been before, but she was still warm. Her fever wasn't completely gone. I saw her fall. I think she really did just trip on something, you know? Damn it. Junpei wouldn't have been more willing to agree if June hadn't needed quite so much help standing up. Still, to fall down like that, I think she's probably still a little messed up. June... Damn it! I hate this cough! June was doing her best to busy herself brushing dust off her dress. Her smile looked a little embarrassed, and her face was a bit flushed. But she did a great deal better than she had still. Alright, well, let's get out of here as fast as we can, so we can get you to a hospital. Oh! I don't think it's anything that serious. I just need a little medicine and some sleep and I'll be fine. Medicine? Medicine, huh? Well, if we could get in touch with anyone outside, I'll bet Ace could swing that for you easy. Ace? Why? Huh? Don't you know? He's the president of a pharmaceutical company. Oh, well, that would definitely be easy for him to get some medicine. Cradle Pharmaceutical is the name, I think. Their flagship product is an anesthetic drug called Soparil. Soparil? Soparil. Junpei couldn't shake the feeling that he had heard about Soparil before. Santa continued. Soparil. Oh, right! Soparil is an anesthetic that is gaseous at room temperatures, similar to nitrous oxide. It only takes a few seconds to spread, and even a small amount is very effective. For these reasons, it has found widespread acceptance with police and military forces in numerous countries. It was an effective crowd suppressant and room clearer, and is practical, ethical, and humane. Developed 6 years prior, it was made from the extract of several different roots. It became popular almost as soon as it was made public, with many governments placing large orders. Demand for Soparil skyrocketed, and as it did, so did the stock of Cradle Pharmaceuticals. Why do you know all this? Santa's information was interesting, but Junpei couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Santa's reply was blunt and simple. I heard it from the old man himself. From Ace? When? By the number 4 door at the central stairway, when we were searching for the second class room. Remember how Snake, 7, and you went to door 5? I asked him what he did for a living, and he said he ran his own company. After that, we just started talking, and I guess it came up, you know. Huh. The more you know. Are you worried about something? No, nothing. As he spoke, Junpei looked over toward Ace. It seemed he seemed to be having difficulty with the 9 boxes. What the hell is he doing? He turned back to June and Santa. June, don't push yourself, alright? Yes. Santa, could you take care of her? Sure. He gave them both a short nod, then turned to head toward Ace. What are you doing? Ace's back was to him as Junpei approached. The older man turned around to look at him, his face pale and covered in sweat. What happened? Nothing, My vision has gotten rather blurry. I think perhaps of fatigue. I can't see very well at the moment. What can't you see well? These pictures? Oh, these pictures. Ace held the cards out to Junpei, splayed out in the shape of a fan. I don't care to admit it, but I may be developing presbyopia. Growing old is a difficult thing. He made the best attempt he could at his self-depreciating smile, but his face was flushed and his lips were pale and drawn. Wait a minute, I didn't pick up Lotus's card yet. I still had to do that. I did this early, but it's showing it. Maybe they'll just give it to me. At any rate, I'll leave the rest to you. I'm feeling awfully tired, so if you don't mind, I'd like to rest for a bit. He shoved the cards into Junpei's hands and walked quickly away. Junpei looked at him quizzically. How could simply looking at cards have tired him out? Junpei looked down at the cards in his hands. All of the pictures were pretty clear, and each person easily recognizable. Was Ace's vision truly so bad? But if it wasn't, what had made him so uncomfortable? That was when June remembered what he heard from Lotus much earlier. Prosopagnosia? Oh, that's her. Sorry. Well, put simply, it means a condition where the mind can't distinguish between human faces. In other words, my face would look the same as Clover's, or even yours. So they can't remember faces, which is how most people recognize each other. That means that people with prosopagnosia have trouble recognizing even people they're close to. Ah. So this is impossible for someone like him. Maybe. Maybe he's got prosopagnosia. Junpei took another look at Ace. He sat at the base of the stairs, looking quite depressed. It was reasonable, of course, that he had felt that he'd feel that way. If he really did have prosopagnosia, there was no doubt it was a depressing and painful experience. Still, Junpei didn't feel like patting him on the shoulder and telling him everything would be alright would help that much. Still, Junpei felt perhaps that it was best he kept Ace's condition to himself, at least for the time being. Oh well. Doing his best to clear his mind for the task at hand, he turned back toward the boxes. It was time to solve the puzzle of the 9 boxes. 9 cards with pictures and 9 boxes. Junpei stared at them for a moment and, okay, we're done. I will be right back. Okay, and we're back. This is apparently something new. It seems we went to a different location after we were told that Clover went missing. Junpei and June ran into the large hospital room together. As quickly as they could, they searched around, under the beds and in the corners. She's not here. No, she isn't. Alright, just in case, we should take a look in the shower room. The shower room? That's where her brother is. She might have gone to see him. Oh, forgot about the ... Well, whatever. June bit her lip. She knew, as Junpei did, that there was only one thing to see in the shower room, and it wasn't pleasant. Well, we might as well check, right? Let's go. There was a screwdriver stuck between the door and the frame. Junpei and June slid through the door and moved down the hallway and stepped into the shower room. By the way, I don't mean to, break immersion or anything right now, but I just wanted to mention this because it ticks me off a little bit. I've already recorded this. Not all the way to the very end, mind you, but I've already recorded up to a certain point, but my laptop died. And it corrupted the video, and I have to do this all over again. I had to start back the fucking block puzzle. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I had to start all the way back to where you have to find the cards around that room. Actually, no, wait, I'm incorrect again. I had to start in the area where you have to turn the circles. That one doesn't piss me off at all, neither do the cards, but the freaking boxes thing where you gotta get the robot to push it into the correct spots ticked me off a bit. I'm sorry, I just had to get that out, because it told me my laptop was dying, I plugged it in, then it tells me later I'm at 1% charge, and then dies on me before I can do anything about it. Apparently the cord wasn't plugged in. I just had to get that aggravation off my chest. Alright, let's move on. Oh, we didn't get a really good look at this place before. No luck. Yeah, I don't think she's here. June's voice was faint. As she placed her hands over her mouth, her face looked a little green. The stench in the room was almost unbearable. It had grown far more unpleasant since their last visit. If Junpei had eaten a lunch, he would have had difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure. And the only way to be sure was to check the other side of the divider. Wait here. June offered no resistance and nodded weakly to Junpei as he headed around the divider. He stopped at the corner and turned his head. Ugh. As he expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. Only thing on the other side of the divider was a dead body, lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood. There are many ways a man can die, but this... The skull was shattered, and the head was little more than a pulpy mass of brain, bone, and viscera. The left arm was hideously twisted into a horrific alien shape the bright white of the ulna shining through the remains of the skin and muscle. Huh? Wait. Bright white. Ulna. Bones. The pieces fell into place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory. My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. The accident hurt him really bad. To save him, they had to cut off his arm. He wouldn't have an ulna there in the left arm. Of course. Of course! Why hadn't he realized it earlier? Clover had told Junpei that Snake's left arm was a prosthetic. But the left arm of the corpse behind the divider was clearly a real human arm, or at least it had been once. That meant the corpse. Well, there's really only one place Snake could be, but just for the sake of argument, let's not mention it. I mean, we know something is in the coffin, because there's a knocking noise. The very obvious conclusion to make is Snake is in there. Just throwing that out there. Junpei and June headed back toward the large hospital room. They stepped through the door and out of the showroom, and now that I think about it, Clover would or should realize that wasn't her brother because of the thing with the left arm. Then again, just seeing the bloody, pulpy mass, maybe she just assumed it was him and didn't look as hard as Junpei just did. And didn't connect the dots, so never mind. Maybe in her grief-torn mind, or she just automatically assumed and made her mind grief-worn. Anyway. I already read that. Down the hallway they went, searching for Clover in every corner. They had reached the stairs when Seven appeared, breathless and yelling. Junpei! June! Where are you guys? He looked pale and his face was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught in his throat. Did something happen? Seven drew a shaking hand across his face and gulped down a breath of air. Clover is dead. And with that, we're going to end this bonus episode here. See you guys in the next one. Normally I wouldn't cut here, but there's a lot more. See you guys in the next bonus episode, where we'll end up this one. Well, this ending. Bye.